My name is Jessica Hart. I'm 33 years old, and my marriage ended because my husband thought it would be funny to fake divorce me and fake impregnate me on April Fool's Day. He laughed. I packed a suitcase, walked out, and 3 days later, while he was begging me to come home, I had already signed the real divorce papers. That still sounds dramatic when I say it out loud. Sometimes, even in therapy, I hear myself talk and think, God, Jess, you sound unhinged. But then I remember every detail of that morning, the way my hands went numb, the ringing in my ears, the little digital word pregnant staring at me from the counter, and I know I didn't overreact. If anything, I underreacted. It started April 1st, just another random weekday. I woke up alone. My husband, Tyler, 31, charming, the kind of guy who always has a joke ready, was already gone to work. At least that's what I thought. We'd been married 4 years, together for 7. We had the usual arguments about laundry and dishes and whose turn it was to call whose mother. Nothing catastrophic. No affairs, no screaming, no plates thrown. Just a regular, mildly imperfect marriage in a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. The house was mine, technically, bought and paid for 3 years before we ever said, I do. I had the mortgage, the down payment, the closing costs, the whole thing in my name. When we got married, it just became ours by usage and toothbrush placement. Anyway, that morning the kitchen was quiet. Too quiet. There was a faint burnt coffee smell, like Tyler had tried to make a pot and given up halfway. Next to the coffee maker was an envelope, heavy paper. My name printed on the front in block letters. Jessica Hart. My stomach did a weird little flip. It looked official, legal. For half a second I thought it might be something from work or the bank, or the HOA being dramatic again about trash cans. I opened it. The first thing I saw was the heading, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. Divorce. It had county clerk stamps, case numbers, our full names, our address, our wedding date, a list of assets, house value, vehicles, retirement accounts. At the bottom, under petitioner, was his signature. Tyler Hart. Grounds for divorce, irreconcilable differences. My vision tunneled. My knees just gave up. I slid into one of the kitchen chairs without really deciding to sit. My hands were shaking so hard the pages rattled. We'd had a minor argument the night before about the laundry room being a disaster. That's it. Not I'm leaving you level, not I'm done level. Just 2 people bickering over who left towels in the washer too long. My brain tried to keep up. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe these are old. Maybe this is some kind of weird notification and he meant to tell you. Then I saw the other thing on the counter. A digital pregnancy test. The little window was still lit up. Pregnant 3+ weeks. We had been trying for a baby for a year. Month after month of disappointment, of me crying in the bathroom while he held me and said we'd keep trying. Doctors, charts, ovulation apps, vitamins, the whole routine. A positive test should have been joy, a rush to call him, to cry happy tears, to plan nursery paint colors. Instead, it was sitting next to divorce papers. My brain did something I can only describe as static. There was no coherent thought, just a high-pitched buzz in my head and the pounding of my heart. I checked the dates on the petition. Filed 3 days ago, March 29th. Filed. While he was still kissing me goodnight, still talking about baby names, he had already filed for divorce? I grabbed my phone with clumsy fingers and called him. Straight to voicemail. I tried again, and again, texted. We need to talk now, call me. Nothing. I called his work. The receptionist sounded confused. Tyler, oh, he called in sick today. Sick, right. He wasn't sick, he was hiding. I spent the rest of the day in a fogged-out version of my own life. I kept picking up the papers, reading through them, looking for some clue this wasn't real. Every line was correct. Our marriage date, the house details, the bank accounts. I recognized the forms. They look like the ones you see when you Google how to file for divorce in Insert Your County. I opened my laptop. I typed exactly that into the search bar. The forms matched. At some point, I realized I had a work meeting in 10 minutes and had no idea what my face looked like. I caught my reflection in the microwave door. Pale, eyes red, hair badly half pulled into a bun. I canceled the meeting, just typed family emergency and hit send. Hours crawled by. Every time my phone lit up for an email or spam call, my heart jumped, then crashed. No text from Tyler, no missed calls, no, we need to talk from him. Just silence and that stupid little plastic stick on the counter, taunting me. When the front door finally opened around 6, the adrenaline dump almost made me throw up. Tyler walked in, keys jingling, casual as anything. He set his bag down, kicked off his shoes, looked up, and froze when he saw me sitting at the table with the papers spread out. "Hey, babe," he started. "How was your—" "Whose is it?" My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded thin and scraped out. He frowned. "What?" "The pregnancy test." I stared at him. "Whose baby is it, Tyler?" He opened his mouth to deny, then his eyes landed on the test, the papers, the way my hands were gripping the edges of the petition. And then he laughed. Not a nervous chuckle, not a guilty laugh. A full, bent-over, can't-breathe belly laugh. "Oh my God," he wheezed, clutching his stomach. "Jess, your face. You should see your face right now." I just stared at him. I couldn't even feel my body. It was like I was watching someone else's life from the ceiling. "It's April Fool's," he said finally, wiping tears from his eyes. "I got you so good." I blinked. What? "The divorce papers," he said, gesturing at the documents like they were a party decoration. "They're fake. Well, mostly fake. I downloaded real forms online, filled them out, but I didn't actually file anything." He picked up the pregnancy test, grinning. "And this? That's my sister's. She's pregnant. Not you, but you totally fell for it." My throat closed. "You pranked me with divorce papers and a fake pregnancy test?" "Yes." He looked so proud of himself. "Isn't it hilarious? I spent weeks on this. I had to avoid you all day so you'd believe it. You kept calling, right? I couldn't answer, or it would ruin the surprise." I stood up slowly. The room tilted a little. "You let me think," I said carefully, "all day, that you were divorcing me and leaving me for someone else. That you'd gotten another woman pregnant." He shrugged, still grinning. "It was supposed to be shocking. That's the point. You're supposed to freak out, and then I go, 'April Fools,' and we laugh about it. And now it's yes." I walked past him toward the bedroom. "Where are you going?" he asked, suddenly uneasy. "To pack." My voice came out flat, almost calm. "I'm leaving." He followed me down the hall. "Babe, come on, it's a joke. Everyone does pranks today." I pulled my suitcase from the closet. The sound of the zipper felt deafening in the quiet room. "You're seriously packing a bag?" he demanded. "Over this?" I started folding clothes. Jeans, t-shirts, work blouses. My hands were steady now. My brain had moved from panic to something quieter, colder. "You made me think my marriage was over," I said. "You made me think you cheated on me and got someone pregnant and were serving me divorce papers. For fun." "It was fun," he insisted. "You should have seen your face." "I did," I said. "From inside my skin." He rolled his eyes. "You're being ridiculous. You'll laugh about this tomorrow." "No," I said. "I won't." I grabbed toiletries, my laptop, chargers, the essentials of a life pared down to what fits in a suitcase. "Where are you even going?" he asked, voice rising. "A hotel? Seriously? Over a prank?" "Yes," I said, "over a prank." He grabbed my arm as I tried to walk past. "Jess, stop." I said I'm sorry if I went too far, okay? It's April Fool's. It's supposed to be shocking. I looked down at his hand on my arm. "Let go." For a second, he didn't. Then something in my face must have registered, because he released me. "You're really going to blow up our whole marriage over this?" he said quietly. I paused in the doorway. For a heartbeat, I saw our wedding day. The vows, the stupid cake smash he'd insisted on, the way he'd always pushed jokes a little too far and then said, "Relax, it's funny." "No," I said. "You blew it up. I'm just getting out of the blast zone." I left. I checked into an extended stay hotel near my office on autopilot, gave them my credit card, smiled mechanically when the receptionist said, "Long week?" and went up to a room that smelled like neutral detergent and other people's lives. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were dozens of missed calls and texts. "Jess, come home. It was just a joke. You're seriously going to act like this? Everyone I told thinks you're overreacting." I blocked his number. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. Not a prank one. A real one. The receptionist at the law office had that perfectly neutral expression you only learn from dealing with other people's crises all day. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked. "Yes," I said, 9 a.m. with Allison Price. She checked her screen, nodded, and handed me a clipboard. "You can have a seat and fill these out. She'll be with you shortly." I sat in a sleek gray chair under a framed landscape photo and checked boxes about my life. Married, no children, length of marriage, assets. It felt like I was filling out an intake form at a mechanic, listing everything wrong with a car I'd driven too hard. Allison came out right on time. Late 30s, sharp suit, hair pulled back, eyes that missed nothing. Jessica? She asked. I stood. Yeah, hi. We shook hands. Her grip was firm, professional, grounding. Come on back, she said. Her office was neat. Tidy desk, one potted plant somehow still alive, a wall of legal books that probably hadn't been touched since Google. She gestured for me to sit. So, she said, settling behind her desk with a legal pad. Tell me what's going on. I took a breath. My husband pranked me. One of her eyebrows lifted. That's not the start I expected, but okay. What kind of prank? I slid the envelope across her desk. He put those on the counter yesterday morning and disappeared for the day. She opened it, scanned the documents, flipped through the pages. Her expression didn't change much, but I saw the moment she realized they were filled out completely. These are divorce forms, she said. They look legitimate, but I don't see a court stamp on the top page. Right, I said. He downloaded them from the court website, filled them out, signed them. He just never filed them. She looked up at me. And the pregnancy test? She asked. I hadn't told her that part yet. I saw the question in her eyes. On the counter next to the papers, I said. Positive, digital, 3+ weeks. We've been trying for a year. He got it from his sister. She's actually pregnant. He thought that would make it more convincing. Allison sat back slowly. So, she said, he made you think he was divorcing you and had gotten someone else pregnant. For a joke. Yes. And your reaction was? I packed a suitcase and left, I said. Checked into a hotel, blocked his number, then called you. The corner of her mouth twitched, but it wasn't a smile. More like a grim line. Do you want a divorce? She asked. Or do you want leverage? I knew exactly what she meant. Some people come in here to scare their spouses, to wave the paperwork like a threat until the other person behaves. I didn't even have to think about it. I want a divorce, I said, a real one. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Okay, she said. Then this is actually simpler. These, she tapped the fake documents, are useful. They show premeditation, intent, a long planning period. That matters. So I'm not crazy, I said before I could stop myself. Crazy? Allison repeated. Because you don't want to stay married to someone who thinks psychological warfare is comedy? No, you're not crazy. Something in my chest unclenched. She walked me through the process. Filing, serving him, temporary orders, mediation. She told me she was known for being aggressive but fair, that she didn't like wasting time, that she'd had clients leave over less than what Tyler had done. When we file, she said, it will be real. Real case number, real judge. Once this starts, if you change your mind, we can slow things down, but I want you to understand there's no just kidding clause. Good, I said. He's already used that up. We filed that afternoon. Real forms, real case number, real signature. Update, if I'd been writing this like a Reddit post, 3 days later, he was finally served. By then, I was living out of the extended stay hotel. Work knew I was handling a family matter, which was technically true. They let me work hybrid, more from the room than the office. I was grateful. I didn't trust myself not to burst into tears in the break room. The day he got served, my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. I hesitated, then answered. Could have been work. Could have been the attorney. Hi, is this Jessica Hart? The receptionist at my office asked. There's a man here who says he's your husband. He's very upset. My stomach dropped. I'm not available, I said. If he refuses to leave, you can call security. There was a muffled sound, shouting in the background. The receptionist covered the receiver, came back. He says he's not leaving until he talks to you. Then call security, I repeated. You have my permission. Later, she told me he left before anyone had to escort him out, but not before making a scene in the lobby. That afternoon, my phone rang again. I didn't recognize the number, but it had my in-laws' area code. I picked up. Hello? You need to stop this nonsense and come home, a woman's voice snapped. His mother. I'd recognize that disapproving tone anywhere. My son is beside himself. He said you walked out over a joke. A joke, I repeated. It was April Fool's, she said. People play pranks. You young people are so sensitive these days. Did he tell you about the pregnancy test? I asked. Silence. What pregnancy test? She said slowly. The positive one he put next to my fake divorce papers, I said. He let me think he'd gotten another woman pregnant and was leaving me. For hours. More silence. I could practically hear her recalibrating. Well, she said finally, brittle. He said it was just supposed to be funny. You know he didn't mean to. No, I said. He meant to hurt me. That was the entire point. Shock, pain, devastation. Then, just kidding. I'm not interested in living with someone who thinks my trust is a punchline. You filed for divorce, she demanded. Yesterday, I said. He should have the paperwork today. Those are real, by the way, unlike his. You can't be serious. I am, I said. Please don't call this number again. I hung up and blocked her. The next number that got through was one I didn't recognize. I answered out of habit. You're being a huge jerk, you know that? A woman's voice snapped. Who is this? I asked. Tyler's best friend, she said. He's been crying for 3 days because you left over a stupid prank. Do you know how many couples survive worse? Good for them, I said. This one isn't going to. He made one mistake. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. He spent weeks planning. Downloaded legal forms, coordinated with his pregnant sister, avoided me all day. That's not one mistake, that's a project. It was April Fool's. And now it's April 4th, I said. He's been served real divorce papers. Funny how time works. You're throwing away 7 years, she shot back. He threw it away, I said. I'm just signing the paperwork. Goodbye. I blocked that number too. That night, my brother called. So, he said carefully, Tyler tracked down my number, called me sobbing, said you just up and left. What's going on? I told him everything. I didn't sugarcoat it. I walked him through the morning, the papers, the test, the laughter. When I finished, there was a long pause. Yeah, he said finally. Okay, that's pretty messed up. Am I overreacting? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. He exhaled. If my wife did that to me, I'd be talking to a lawyer too. You're not crazy, Jess. I felt my throat tighten. Thank you. Do you need anything? Money, a place to stay? I've got the hotel. I'll be okay, I said. But thanks for asking. Tyler tried every number he could find. Friends, family, work. When he couldn't reach me directly, he started emailing my work address. Long rambling apologies mixed with anger. HR forwarded them with a note. Do you need us to intervene? I told them no, that the situation was being handled legally, but to please notify me if he showed up again. Day 6. He did. Security escorted him out. He yelled that he had a right to see his wife. They explained trespassing law to him. Allison sent a cease and desist letter. Any contact outside of legal channels, and she'd push for a restraining order. That finally shut him up. 2 weeks after I left, we had our preliminary hearing. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Beige walls, buzzing fluorescent lights, a tired-looking judge who had clearly seen every flavor of human disaster. Allison sat beside me at the petitioner's table, calm and collected. Tyler sat on the other side with his attorney, a guy who looked like he'd bought his suit off the clearance rack that morning. Tyler's side went first. His lawyer painted a picture of a woman who abandoned the marriage over a minor misunderstanding and refused to engage in counseling or reconciliation despite repeated apologies. When it was our turn, Allison stood and presented a timeline of his planning, pulled from text to his sister asking to borrow a positive pregnancy test, screenshots where he bragged to friends about how destroyed I'd be and how hilarious it would look when I realized it was a prank. My statement about the year of infertility struggles, the emotional context he'd weaponized. The judge looked at Tyler. Mr. Hart, he said, you deliberately caused your spouse emotional distress as part of this joke? It was April Fool's, Tyler said, sounding genuinely bewildered. It's supposed to be funny. I thought she'd freak out and then laugh. Did she laugh? The judge asked. Well, no, Tyler said, but I figured once she calmed down. So you expected her to be upset, the judge said, at least at first. Tyler shifted. Yeah, but that's the point of a prank, right? You scare someone and when she didn't laugh, the judge cut in. What did you do? I apologized, Tyler said quickly. Before or after she left the home? The judge asked. After, he muttered. The judge made a note. The petition for divorce will proceed, he said. I'm ordering mediation for asset division. Both parties are required to attend in good faith. If mediation fails, this will go to trial. Tyler's attorney jumped up. Your Honor, we believe this marriage can be saved with counseling. Does your client want counseling? The judge asked. Tyler perked up. Yes, Your Honor, I'm willing to. He turned to Allison. Does the petitioner want counseling? No, Your Honor, she said without hesitation. My client is filing for divorce based on irreconcilable differences. The respondent's actions demonstrated a fundamental incompatibility in values regarding trust and respect. The judge nodded once. So ordered. Mediation in 3 weeks. Outside the courtroom, Tyler tried to come toward me. Jess, please. Allison stepped between us. Don't, she said, voice like ice. The cease and desist is still in effect. Any contact goes through counsel. We walked away while his voice echoed down the hallway. In the car, Allison glanced over at me. He's going to try to make this expensive, she said. His lawyer's young and probably thinks he can drag this out. Be prepared for spousal support demands, equity grabs, all of it. Can he do that? I asked, exhausted. He can try, she said. But you're not the one who turned your marriage into a performance. Remember that. I stared out the window as the courthouse got smaller in the rearview mirror. The joke was over. The real cost was just getting started. Mediation was held in a cramped conference room inside a neutral office building. Beige walls, stale coffee smell, a clock that ticked louder than it had any right to. Tyler sat across from me at a long table, shoulders stiff, eyes rimmed red. He looked like someone who thought he was about to win back control of a narrative he had already lost. His attorney sat beside him, shuffling papers with theatrical confidence. Allison sat on my right, calm and unmovable, her presence like a shield I didn't have to hold up myself. The mediator, a gray-haired woman with a soft voice and a therapist's patience, started with, "We'll aim for an equitable division of assets and respectful communication." Respectful. I wondered briefly if Tyler even understood what that word meant. She began with the house, my house, the one I bought 3 years before I ever married him. Tyler's attorney cleared his throat. Our position is that Mr. Hart is entitled to half the equity. I stared at him. Based on what? The home was the marital residence for the duration of the marriage, the attorney said smoothly. Ms. Hart's financial stability allowed Mr. Hart to maintain a certain lifestyle. Additionally, he contributed to improvements that raised the property value. What improvements? I asked, because I had lived in that house, and I certainly didn't remember any dramatic transformations. New kitchen counters, the attorney said. Landscaping, painting multiple rooms. All of which totaled maybe $8,000, I said flatly, and which we agreed to split. Tyler lifted his chin. I put in sweat equity. Allison almost snorted. Sweat equity isn't a legal term, she said. And even if it were, $8,000 is not half of $150,000 in equity. The mediator tried to keep things civil. Perhaps we can discuss a reasonable contribution amount. We want $75,000, Tyler's attorney said, cutting her off. I blinked. $75,000? For $8,000 in improvements? Tyler's attorney spread his hands, as if explaining something to a child. For his emotional contribution, Ms. Hart, marriage is a partnership. Allison actually laughed, loudly. You're requesting compensation for being married. The attorney stiffened. Emotional contribution is recognized in many cases. Not like this, Allison said. Not when the respondent's actions directly caused the breakdown of the marriage. Ms. Hart offered $15,000, nearly double the cost of improvements. That was generous. We want 60, he insisted. We're done here, Allison said. The mediator raised her hands gently. Let's not jump. No, Allison said. We're not entertaining numbers invented out of thin air. If Mr. Hart wants to proceed to trial, we'll see him there. Tyler looked at me then, eyes softening, voice trembling in a way he probably thought was strategic. Jess, can't we just talk this out? You're really going to spend thousands more in legal fees instead of just working with me? I held his gaze. You should have thought about that before spending weeks planning how to emotionally destroy me. His face fell, not because he finally understood, but because manipulation didn't work. Later that night, at the hotel, I stared at the ceiling while muted light from the parking lot seeped through the curtains. My phone buzzed nonstop. Friends messaging, family messaging. Tyler's mother had apparently started a full-scale outreach campaign, calling anyone with a heartbeat and a phone number. My cousin sent me a screenshot of a group chat I wasn't part of. Jessica abandoned Tyler over a silly prank. She's cold, unforgiving. Poor Tyler, she's ruining his life. I didn't reply to any of them. But I couldn't lie, not even to myself. The constant pressure, the guilt, the whispers that maybe I was too harsh kept creeping in. There were nights I'd sit on the edge of the hotel bed and wonder, am I the one overreacting? Could we have fixed this? Is divorce too big a consequence for an April Fool's joke? Then, every time, the memory hit me fresh and vivid. Me, standing alone in the kitchen, the envelope shaking in my hands, the divorce petition with his signature, the pregnancy test blinking pregnant 3+ weeks, the sick, hollow feeling spreading through my whole body, his laughter, his actual laughter, when he walked in. No, I wasn't overreacting. Pain like that wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a message. I met with Allison again the next week. She had a stack of documents, emails, printed texts, itemized lists. He's going to drag this out, she said. His attorney is filing motions for spousal support and asset discovery. Spousal support? I asked, stunned. We've only been married 4 years, and he's employable. Legally, he can request it, she said. He won't get it, but he can try. I rubbed my forehead. How much is this going to cost? Another 10 to 12,000 if it goes to trial, she said. I know that's not easy to hear. I closed my eyes. It was more than I'd ever wanted to spend on anything, let alone ending a marriage. But then again, Tyler had already cost me trust, safety, sleep, and months of my life. Money felt like the least painful currency. All right, I said, then we go to trial. Allison nodded. I'll prepare everything. Tyler's family's outreach only intensified. His mother left voicemails long enough to qualify as audiobooks. You don't destroy a marriage over nothing, she'd scold. You think you're so perfect? You think you've never hurt anyone? Come home and fix this like an adult. His sister sent messages too. You're being dramatic. He's devastated. He didn't mean it. Aunt Karen, yes, that was her real name, even emailed me. Marriages require forgiveness. But whenever someone from my side heard the full story, the fake legal filing, the fake pregnancy test, the deliberate avoidance all day to maximize my panic, every single one of them reacted the same. Yeah, no, divorce is valid. 3 separate friends told me some version of, that wasn't a prank. That was psychological assault with props. I held on to that. It kept me steady. As the trial date approached, I settled into a strange rhythm at the hotel. Work, therapy, coffee from the lobby machine, long showers, rereading old texts from a version of Tyler I didn't recognize anymore. There was grief intertwined with everything. Grief for the marriage, for the imagined life we had talked about, for the baby we'd tried to have. But there was also a growing sense of clarity, a steadiness I hadn't felt in months. Somewhere between filing the paperwork and blocking the 15th phone number, I had learned what a line looked like and what crossing it cost. The week before trial, Allison sent me a message. Be ready. He'll try to play the victim. Stay calm. I've got the rest. And I believed her. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. The morning of the trial, I walked into the courthouse feeling like I had sandbags tied to my legs. Tyler was already there in a wrinkled suit, looking pale and small. His attorney smoothed his tie like he was prepping him for a school picture. Allison arrived beside me, not with comforting words, but with something better. Competence, confidence, evidence. Let's go, she said. And for the first time since April 1st, I felt ready. The courtroom was colder than the last time. Literally, the AC felt like it was set to meat locker. But maybe that helped. Numbness made it easier to stay composed. Tyler sat at the respondent's table, shoulders hunched, lips pressed thin. He kept sneaking glances at me, as if expecting me to look back, to offer him something. Sympathy, softness, a lifeline. I didn't. The judge entered, papers under his arm, glasses low on his nose. He looked tired. Judges always look tired, but this one looked especially exhausted, like he'd seen too many people ruin their own lives over ego and stupidity. All right, he said, after both sides introduced themselves. Petitioner, respondent, counsel. This is a trial for dissolution of marriage. I've reviewed the materials. Let's proceed. Tyler's lawyer went first. He stood, buttoned his cheap suit jacket, and began. Your Honor, what we have here is a marital dispute blown wildly out of proportion. Mr. Hart acknowledges that his April Fool's prank was in poor taste, but Ms. Hart's reaction, abandoning the marital home, filing for divorce days later, refusing counseling, demonstrates a pattern of emotional impulsivity rather than reason. He paced slightly as if trying to mimic a seasoned trial attorney. It didn't quite land. This marriage can be salvaged, he continued. My client has repeatedly attempted to reconcile. He has apologized. He has expressed willingness for therapy, but Ms. Hart refuses, demanding divorce and aggressive asset division instead. He ended with, This is not grounds for dissolution. It is grounds for a counseling referral. The judge nodded, face unreadable. Thank you. Petitioner? Allison rose like she was carved from steel. Your Honor, she began, what happened here was not a harmless prank. It was a calculated, deliberate, emotional ambush. She walked to the evidence table, lifting exhibit after exhibit. Exhibit A, timestamps and digital records showing the respondent downloaded and filled out legal divorce forms weeks before April 1st. Not impulsively, not spontaneously, weeks. She placed copies on the judge's bench. Exhibit B, Text messages from the respondent to his sister requesting a positive pregnancy test. Knowing the petitioner had been undergoing infertility treatments, knowing how emotionally charged that issue was. She dropped another set of documents. The judge's eyes narrowed slightly. Exhibit C. Messages the respondent sent to friends bragging about the prank, stating he wanted to destroy her and that her reaction would be movie-worthy. A ripple of discomfort moved through the room. Exhibit D. Therapeutic documentation diagnosing the petitioner with acute stress response following the event, hypervigilance, sleep disruption, panic symptoms. Allison stepped closer to the judge. This was not a joke. It was emotional cruelty. The respondent intentionally avoided the petitioner all day to prolong her suffering. When confronted, he laughed. When she left, he harassed her at work, through family, through repeated calls from unknown numbers before a cease and desist had to be issued. She let the silence hang. This marriage ended the moment he weaponized her vulnerabilities for entertainment. Trust is not a prop. Infertility is not a punchline. Divorce is not a prank. The judge exhaled long and slow, as if absorbing all the weight in the room. "All right," he said. "Let's hear from the respondent." Tyler stood hesitantly. His voice cracked at the start. "It wasn't supposed to be like that," he said. "I wasn't trying to hurt her. I thought it would be funny, and then we'd laugh about it. My friend said it would be hilarious. I thought she'd freak out for a minute, and then I'd say April Fools, and it'd be fine." The judge folded his hands. "But that's not what happened." "I know," Tyler said quickly. "I apologized. I told her I was sorry. I tried to talk to her. She wouldn't even speak to me. She just left and filed divorce papers. I mean, over a prank. Who does that?" "Who plans a prank like that?" The judge countered gently, but firmly. Tyler swallowed. "I didn't think she'd take it that seriously." "That's the problem, Mr. Hart," the judge said. "You didn't think." Then he turned to me. "Mrs. Hart, do you have anything to add?" I stood slowly, my palms damp, knees stiff. "Yes, Your Honor," I said, "just one thing." My voice trembled, but not with weakness, with restraint. "When I found those papers," I said, "I didn't think it was a prank. I thought my husband had blindsided me, that our marriage was over, that he'd gotten another woman pregnant. I thought I'd lost everything in one morning." I met Tyler's eyes. He looked away. "And he wanted me to feel that way," I went on. "That was the joke. My pain was the joke, and I can't be married to someone who thinks hurting me is funny." The courtroom was completely silent. I sat down. The judge didn't deliberate long, 15 minutes tops. When he returned, his voice was steady. "Divorce is granted," he said. Tyler sagged backward like someone had kicked his spine out. "For asset division," the judge continued, "the petitioner retains ownership of the marital residence. The respondent will receive $20,000, far exceeding the documented costs of improvements." Tyler's attorney started to speak, but the judge lifted a hand. "There will be no spousal support. The marriage was short-term. The respondent is fully employable, and his actions substantially contributed to the marriage's breakdown." Tyler's mouth fell open. $20,000? That's nothing compared to the emotional damage you inflicted, the judge said. "It's more than fair." He banged the gavel. "Case finalized pending paperwork. Court is adjourned." Tyler tried to approach me as we all stood. "Jess, please, can we—" His attorney grabbed his arm. "Don't. She'll file harassment." Allison leaned closer to me. "Don't look at him," she muttered. "Just walk." So I did. We stepped into sunlight that felt too bright, too clean, after the courtroom's fluorescent chill. Allison exhaled. "That went better than expected. 20,000 is manageable." "I can afford it," I said. "I just want it over." She nodded. "It will be. 4 to 6 weeks for the paperwork." I knew she meant the legal paperwork. But in my chest, something else was already settling. The end, and something new beginning. 6 weeks after the decree was mailed, I moved out of the hotel and sold the house. Too many memories clinging to the walls. I found a smaller condo closer to work. Clean slate, fresh air, no ghosts. 3 months after that, I met someone new. Not dramatic, not fireworks, just dinner with a coworker's friend who had kind eyes and listened when I talked. On the third date, I told him everything. The prank, the pregnancy test, the divorce, the aftermath. He didn't flinch. "That's insane," he said. "Who does that to someone they love?" I smiled weakly. "That's what I said." His response, "You didn't overreact. If anything, you reacted just right." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. Tyler tried to friend me on social media a few times. I blocked him every time. His mother sent a letter to my office. I shredded it unopened. His best friend messaged me on an old account I forgot I still had. "He misses you. He's sorry." Blocked. They eventually ran out of ways to reach me. 6 months after the divorce, I was in therapy, working through trust issues and learning to see red flags before they turned into detonators. My therapist asked, "Do you think you'll ever forgive him?" I thought about it. "Maybe I'll forgive what he did," I said, eventually. She nodded. "And him?" I shook my head. "No, because what he did wasn't a mistake. It was who he is." I'm 34 now, divorced, stable, healing. I lost $23,850 and 1 year of my life to a man who thought my pain was hilarious. But I gained something bigger, myself, and peace, and a partner who knows that love isn't a punchline. If Tyler wants to keep telling people I couldn't take a joke, he can. Let him. The people who matter know the truth. The rest? They can believe whatever helps them sleep at night.